I'll say trust your gut a bit more. Um, like uh, People will give advice, and it's good to listen. You know yourself best, so if you know you're not going to enjoy it, you don't need to do it just because other people have told you to. You're the one that has to ultimately go and do what you're signing up to do. You're the one that has to sit through those lectures and get up on those early cold mornings to get to those lectures. So if you trust your gut and you do something that you have a feeling that you're going to enjoy, then you're more invested in it and it won't feel like such a chore.
Hello and welcome back to Pathways to Success, the podcast where we explore the real journeys behind real careers. I'm Ali, your host, and today's guest is a very special one for me personally. Joining us today is Motion, a former student of mine who studied A-level chemistry with myself and who has since gone on to build a successful career in financial services. Motion is currently working as a mortgage and protection advisor at the Openwork Partnership, and his journey is a brilliant example of how skills gained in education can transfer into unexpected and rewarding career paths. So, Motion, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's
So
great to be talking to you.
honestly, it's been a long time since we last
Yeah.
spoke, and it's crazy to see how you've gone on to do so many different things since you left school. So we're going to discuss about what you've been up to really, and find out a little bit more about your journey, and hoping that some people can relate to you. So to start us off, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? So like who you are, who's Motion?
So yeah, so we would have met in Herschel, but prior to Herschel, so I did year 7 to 11 at Park Academy, as it's called now. But it was previously Stockley, and yeah, it was completely different to Herschel. Park Academy is a different animal entirely. Like teachers leaving left, right, and center. Yeah, it just wasn't really the best place to be learning. So yeah, Herschel was a good move in that sense. Met some great teachers like yourself.
Very kind
And
of
then
you.
after that moved on to study mechanical engineering in the University of Nottingham.
Hmm.
And then as for who I am, I guess I was born in Nepal, so first gen immigrant. And then yeah, been been living in London, West London. Yeah, now do financial services. Recently started a blog just because I had the time and I wanted to talk. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
about
no,
it, I
good.
guess.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think it's good for the listeners to know like a little bit about yourself, so they can maybe relate to you in some ways as well. So just kind of before we move on, what would you say you were like as a young person?
Like in my young years, I think I was very like closed off, very shy. I think I definitely had trouble like with language, like so many languages flying around like in and around the house. So I didn't start speaking till quite late. So yeah, I think that led to me just being pretty reserved. But then come to secondary school, made some friends with some pretty loud loud. I made some loud friends, and then that sort of took me out of my shell. And then by the time I'm in high school, I'm one of the troublemakers, I guess. So yeah.
No, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't, when I first, when I kind of met you in year 12, I would say, I wouldn't have thought you're somebody who's reserved, because I feel like you were quite often happy to
Yeah.
contribute. You were quite, worked very well in a team, and, you worked individually well as well. And, I wouldn't have ever thought that you were somebody who was a reserved person. So it goes to show like when you grow up, you're kind of where you develop changes you in many ways. In some ways it's good, so in some ways it might not be great for some people because they go opposite. But it's good to see that you went the right side and you kind of became a better, more open, collaborative person overall. Brilliant. So thank you for sharing that. Now, from a young age, did you know what you wanted to be in the future? Or like what was kind of the dream?
So I've recently gone through it would have been my year 6 yearbook, and they had us write like what we wanted our dream profession to be. And like it's filled with like kids saying footballer, like actress, and blah blah blah. For some reason I pictured myself as an inventor. So yeah, the idea of like finding solutions to problems, I think that really stood out to me as a child, and it carried through. And I think that's why I did mechanical engineering, because I liked physics, and mechanical just felt like a practical application of that.
Mm. I think that's a good point, which we'll come to in a minute in terms of what A levels you did. But let's say, for example, during GCSEs time, let's say, would you say you were an academic person? Would you say we were a practical person?
I think in secondary school, well, I was definitely very sporty. So I had a PE teacher who really took a liking to me. Like it'd be like around lunchtime, he'd come and grab me and be like, after school, we've got this. Like, get your parents to drop off your PE kit. Like you come in playing whatever it was, like field hockey. He had me doing like cross country in the middle of the winter. Yeah, so I had a lot of fun doing every sport under the sun. But also, I think I was pretty academic. Like Stockley wasn't so focused on that. I guess like not everyone was focused on that. So like me, Ardil, and Akil, we were like pretty high up on in terms of getting good academic results. So yeah.
So right. So during your time at school, would you say what other subjects would you say you kind of enjoyed the most and you like kind of liked other than sports stuff related? Like you mentioned, you're good at sports. Were
Yeah,
there any other like you mentioned you're quite academic person. So what were the subjects would you say you kind of enjoyed most?
I would say most I enjoyed would have been maths and physics. So it would have been science in general, but um, by GCSE we had separate teachers, and I really enjoyed the physics classes. I wasn't so keen on biology. I also did art GCSE, which I really enjoyed.
So I would say like your interests are a bit of a mix, isn't it? So like you kind of had the academic side, you had the practical side, and then arts, creative side as well. So it's good to have, I feel like like a mix of the different subjects because it makes you a all-rounded person, you could say, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So would you say like before you chose your A levels, for instance, did you feel like you wanted to do A levels or were you thinking about other options after GCSEs, or did you get some sort of advice on what options are available to you? Like, what was that like for you?
I think with A levels, I didn't think like I really gave it any second thought. Just felt like that was the natural flow of things. Like my parents were very much on the side of me doing A levels, but there was no resistance from my side. Like it just didn't
Mm,
feel like there was any other thing to do
yeah.
at the time.
You know, like what it is, a lot of people don't actually know that all the options are available to them.
Yeah,
So, like for example, leaving GCSEs, you don't just have A levels options. You have things like BTECs or vocational courses that are offered in various colleges, and then you also now have T levels, which are also alternatives to A levels. And again, sometimes a lot of people just know of A levels and that's it, and so they don't think there's other options available. So sometimes I do feel like people might make the wrong decision when they don't have all the options put on the plate for them, on
yeah,
the table for them rather. So like for example, if you are somebody who is in a very academic school, you might potentially, have the options to go on to do A levels because you don't see any other options offered to you. But I think it's important for young people to make those decisions, that's right for them and make informed decisions. And so it's good to look out for all the other options available. So if you're somebody who's currently in year 11, you're not sure what you want to do, go and research about what the local schools offer around you, not just your current school, because you might find that there are other schools that offer courses that you might enjoy. Like I recently visited a school near me where my nephew goes to, and I found out that they actually offer engineering as an A-level subject, which is like
that's
rare.
cool.
Like I don't think anybody else does that.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So it's the things like that. So some schools will offer subjects because they've got the specialism to offer it, and others won't. So you might want to look around, shop around, have a look for yourselves. What other things on offer for me, and then make a decision that's right for you. So definitely researching is really, really important. So, like you said, you wanted to choose to do A level. Did you feel pressured? Well, I know you said your parents were quite on board with you doing A levels. Were you like pressured to follow a particular pathway in a career or doing the subject that's going to be relevant to that, or how did you decide your A levels basically?
I mean, A levels, there was definitely like a lot of pressure on what specifically to do. This was very much on me doing like becoming a doctor. So it was maths, chemistry, and biology. I switched from biology to physics after like 2 weeks. So like I agreed with them for as long as I could, and then eventually, um, yeah, I just said I'm not like biology. I'm never going to enjoy it, and I won't do any good in it. So I think
Was
it's just
that a
better if I
difficult
do something.
conversation at that time?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. So how did you overcome that? Because I know a lot of people do have that problem of like parents having a big influence on their decision making. And I think it's important parents can share their input, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be your career that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. And it's important that you do something that you enjoy. So what are some of the challenges you face and how did you overcome it? So anybody who's going through it might be able to.
So like the difficult conversations, they're always going to be around, and they they're like they don't start from a certain age. So you kind of you kind of have to get used to being uncomfortable with these conversations. So for me, I think the early like a big one I can remember was GCSE art. Like my parents felt like it was just me wasting my time. So yeah, like I really had to uh fight for my corner in like and you just kind of have to explain yourself. If it's worth if it's worth fighting for, then you should be fighting for it. If you if you can convince yourself, like, then it's worth convincing others, I guess. So yeah, I just told them like I like painting. I want to like flex my creative side, and I want to see what I can do. And yeah, like just even if it means like I don't want accountability, but like what I would do was just do it and then ask for forgiveness afterwards. You might get in more trouble.
Yeah.
You probably will. It's best to get in front of it, but
Yeah.
sometimes um it's better than doing nothing for sure.
Yeah, I would say like have that conversation openly and be transparent in about what you want to do and why you feel like that's not right for you, and put everything on the table so they can see the positives and negatives for themselves as well. Because I think obviously your parents have the best interest for you at the end of the day, but sometimes they may not understand what your interests are if you don't speak up. And so it's important that rather than going doing it behind their back or doing things like in kind of in the wrong way, I would say
Yeah.
it's better to have those conversations openly and then discussing about them so that you can make a decision together, but ultimately the right one for you. Because I've had many people that,
Yeah.
have made those wrong decisions for themselves because they just felt they needed to make their parents happy. And in the end, they really did struggle through it. And wasn't the right decision in the end. But sometimes, it's hard. Of course, it's hard. It's a difficult conversation, but you just have to try to make it convincing and persuasive as you can, and show them all the pathways available to you with those particular, subjects that you're interested in. So definitely have the conversation, I think, and be open and be transparent, I would say. Okay, brilliant. So obviously, let's go back to after you leaving A levels. So you finished your A levels. Where did you and what did you end up applying for, and where did you end up going?
So this is quite a long story because it was around the time where we're getting our predicted grades, which you need for applying for UCAS. So I've done everything, and like we're getting ready, and then I received the predicted grades, and I just remember not being happy at all because like I knew I wanted to go to Nottingham, um, or like I had some unis in mind, and then so I think I got A for chemistry, which I was happy with that. So I got B for maths and physics. And yeah, it felt like a bit of a gut punch. Like I don't want to get into the politics of it, but essentially I just decided like if I'm not getting what I think I deserve, like I'm just not gonna apply this year. And then I'll do the tests and then apply independently. So which is essentially what I did. So I didn't send off my application. I just cancelled that application. And then went on the year without applying to uni, which meant I took a gap year. That was also a difficult conversation with my parents.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So I
Were they
took a
against
gap
the
year.
gap year? Was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you say? Because I know there's some people that can kind of maybe learn from this as well. I've had a conversation with a few students this year where they want to take a gap year because they just feel like they want to have a little bit of a break, and then start uni after. And they've had a very difficult conversation with their parents and carers, for example. So, what was it like for you during that time? And I'm sorry to cut you off a little bit, but I just feel like it would be nice to know how you came over.
Well, I told them like my reasoning behind it. Um, they were a bit ambitious with me. They wanted me to apply to Cambridge. So I said, look, like I'm happy to go through with that. Like I don't mind applying for Cambridge. Yeah. So I told them like with these predicted grades, like there's no chance. Like there's a better chance if like once I do my exam, I get better results, then I can apply with those actual results. And then I'll have way more time to prepare to apply for Cambridge. That's sort of what convinced them. Yeah. And it was like I didn't expect it to be what it was because I didn't like what I hadn't realized was I was just completely burnt out from like GCSEs, A levels, like just if I think if I had carried on, I would have just burnt out in uni.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a nice like needed break as well.
So what did you do in that year for the gap year?
I was with like a tutor, I guess. It was me, Jay, and Dev. So a few of the other boys from Herschel. We would be there pretty much every day. So I didn't get results any better than my predicted grades. I got an A star in maths and then C in physics and chemistry. So you know what, maybe they were maybe they were right. But yeah, so during that time we were revising for resets, like writing personal statements for UCAS, just like essentially like bolstering our uni applications.
Yeah.
So I was doing like charity work for the like the tutor's company. He had like a book company and a charity that would feed kids in Kenya, and like provide them schooling. So it would involve stuff like there'd be pop up petting zoos, um, yeah, and like donating books, collecting books from the neighborhood, that sort of thing. And then I was working as well, making money, and then yeah, just making sure to nail the application the second time around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think many people do that. They during their gap year, they take a little bit of a break. They do maybe, for example, do any retakes if they need to. Many people do a part-time job just to get some money, so they can save up for uni in the future. And a lot of people get involved in charity work, which is great, and do some voluntary work and stuff like that. So everything you've said is all the good stuff that people should be doing if they do take a gap year. And I think they could be the selling points or kind of points you can share with your parents if that is something that you're thinking of doing. Is think about how this will develop you as an individual as well. And I feel like taking a gap year sometimes makes you a lot more prepared for uni as well, because you're more mature then, and you've had that time to kind of take a bit of rest as well, as opposed to going directly in. Not there's anything wrong with going directly into university. Of money, most people just do that, obviously, but there's nothing wrong with also taking a gap year, and I think that's really important to talk about, Tony. Cool. So let's go back to what you were talking about initially. So you took your gap year, and then obviously then you applied. So yeah, take us from there.
So applying for university, like obviously I applied for Cambridge, and then I had my other options, which were like Southampton, Nottingham. I think it was maybe Swansea as well. I don't know. But yeah, uh, Cambridge didn't work out in the end. I actually showed up to one of the tests without like identification, so I couldn't sit that exam.
I see.
Yeah, so then that application just became void. So yeah, with Nottingham, oh, and I applied for Loughborough, which is like relatively important. And so I applied for Nottingham and Loughborough, and they're like pretty close to each other, so they are pretty competitive. And at some point, when I submitted my personal statements and my applications, I had written that I was very sporty and like I was looking to take part in the sports teams and such. And Loughborough is pretty sports forward as far as unis are concerned. So they really took a liking to my application, and they offered me an unconditional. But I really had Nottingham in mind as a favorite. So I with that unconditional, I sent an email to like the recruiting department in Nottingham, and I told them like I have an unconditional from Loughborough. Like I'm willing to go, but I really do prefer Nottingham. And I think a few days after that, they sent me an unconditional to match Loughborough. So yeah, this was before I even resat my exams. Yeah, so they didn't have any results to go off of, but they didn't care at that point.
So what was it you were applying for though to the universities? What course?
Yeah, for a bachelor's.
And was there, did you have a fifth choice, like what you were going to do? If you had like as a backup plan, did you have anything else in mind?
I was looking in my gap year at doing degree apprenticeships as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So a friend of mine ended up going for a degree apprenticeship, and like honestly, I think that would have been better suited to like the type of person I am, like to be making money, working and learning at the same time.
So why didn't you go for a degree apprenticeship at the time? Did you not apply?
I did apply. I just didn't meet the
Okay. So you did know about it and you applied for it, but it just didn't happen for you
yeah.
basically. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Was there anything else?
No, that I think that's as far as the applications. That's
Cool.
all
So
that
now
happened.
that
Yeah.
Perfect. So now let's say so you've now finished. Let's say you started your course at University of Nottingham. What would you say was what was the transition like from school to going to university now? Because there's always a jump from GCSE to A levels, and obviously there's another jump again from you have to be really grown up and you have to think about life
Yeah.
in a different way as well. How did it go? How did you find that?
So my first year was during lockdown. Before the lockdown, it was super fun. Like I love cooking, so like having an empty kitchen, cooking whenever you want, going to the gym whenever you want. That was something that I really liked about university. But then lockdown happened and you're just stuck in your room. You don't socialize with anyone. Like I was pretty lonely at university. And then like it just ended up being so that like I went into the second year, like not having made as many friends on my course as I would have liked to. Like I had friends, but that just were doing like finance and stuff. So they weren't really helpful to me in terms of uni. So yeah, like I went into the second year just not knowing anyone on my course, and yeah, that was pretty difficult.
Mm. So how did you like? Because obviously for you it would have been difficult with the COVID and everything, and so it was very different times, and many people would have struggled through that in general anyway. And university, you have to start to becoming more, you have to be more independent, you have to be more responsible. So what did you say? Some of the stuff you learned along your journey that really helped develop you as an individual, as a young adult. What would you say helped you?
I think like it feels like a big barrier, like when you try and initially speak to someone. But like I think the easiest thing to remember is that you're all there for the same reason. Like you all just want to get a good degree and leave and find a job and stuff. So you have that in common at least. So it's if you're talking about work, then it's not going to be too difficult to at least have a conversation with someone and then take things further from there. So yeah, I just like I went from like not knowing many people to like just be like whenever we had an exam, it'd be like 10 of us in a Discord call, like going through the exam together. Because all of the exams were online at that point. So yeah, it was a big help, like finally pushing through that what felt like unbreakable walls after being alone for so long.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. So obviously now, let's say you kind of, through your university time, was there a particular moment during university when you really started thinking about, or more seriously about your future career? Because obviously still education and people still don't think about what they want to do. They might even have second thoughts now or what have you. Was there a moment where you really was start thinking about what you might do after university?
Yeah, I think like I had like one of my best friends pass away during my time at uni.
No way. I'm sorry
Yeah,
to hear that. That must have been
that's okay.
incredibly hard.
Yeah, I was thinking about taking another gap year during that time.
Mm,
Yeah, but so he did mechanical engineering, and he did take a gap year, so he was a year ahead of me. And so he did help me through a lot of university, like through a lot of the work and stuff. And then like after the passing, I really sat with my decision, like what made me do mechanical engineering. And then like I think I decided in that moment to like I started to think about what really mattered to me, and I really care about the environment. So like during my time at uni, I changed like any module I could change became like environmental management, like sustainability modules and stuff. Yeah, so that felt like it like made me feel more confident in the choice in my degree. So yeah, I had a good time doing those modules.
cool.
Yeah,
So I think it's important to be environmentally mindful now, especially with everything going on, and a lot more places of work now as well. They're starting to introduce roles that helps to develop something to do with green careers or some sort. And I think every job has an element to that, which is really important. So if that's your interest for anyone listening, then you should get involved, with more sustainability programs within your workplaces, or in general, just thinking forward about jobs that's related to that as well. I think that's important. Cool. So now that you've kind of finished university, actually, before we go to finishing university, during university, were you doing any part-time jobs? Were you working anywhere to kind of get some money in? Because obviously university is very expensive, and a lot of young people go there. They tend to do something on the side to get some money coming in. So were you doing
yeah,
anything?
yeah. So I think over the course of my time at uni, I had three different jobs. So the first job I took was, let me think. I think I was working at a restaurant maybe, but that was very brief, like a month or so. And then I landed myself at Curry's, which was the one I stayed at for a very long time.
Like Curry's PC World?
Yeah.
I worked for Curry's PC World for a long time when I
Yeah.
was at, yeah, crazy.
What were you doing?
So I was
Sales.
sales, yeah, and I did it for a long time actually. So just yeah, just funny that you did. I didn't know you did that. So I worked but literally I used to work on the weekends for a long time, and in fact I did it for 8.5 years in the end because
Yeah.
I started from finishing my GCSEs time until I finished uni and the rest of it. But yeah, I used to work on the sales side.
Yeah. I mean, while I was at Herschel, I was working in the weekends as well. I was
Mm.
working at Greg's. So like, well, this is a tangent now. I don't, it was like so
No, I think talk
Herschel,
about that because I
yeah,
feel like because you know what it is, right? For me, I can relate to this a bit because I did work during my A levels and then I worked through my university life throughout part time, and then even when I was like finishing my masters, I was still working in Curry's as well, and so it just kept me. It's like it just was kind because I really enjoyed technology side of things, so I really enjoyed the sales bit, and it was really good skills you developed during that time as well
yeah,
because you have to communicate with customers, you have to have good time management because you have to be punctual to work and all this important skills that you build alongside while you're at school or university or wherever you're doing. So no, you're right. So let's go even back. So if you feel so during your A levels, you were working as in Greg's, did you say,
Yeah.
alongside? So were you working like on the weekends or something or after schools?
Yeah. So
Mm.
during A levels, I'd be getting up at like 4 in the morning to
Wow.
open up the shop. And it really sucked because
Is that how
now I
early they
remember.
open?
Yeah. So they open at like 5. So yeah, I remember I wouldn't have any time to lie in on the weekends. And like Herschel already for me was quite far. And like my parents couldn't really afford to, like, they would be at work. So they wouldn't be able to drive me to school, and they couldn't afford to pay for the coaches. Like I'm sure they could have, but they just didn't feel like it was like a worthwhile investment.
Because it is really
Um
expensive, by the way. A lot of people don't know how costly the coaches are. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was again on school days waking up at like 6 in the morning. So yeah, like I didn't have any single day of the week where like I wasn't waking up later than 6. And yeah, I think it made me pretty miserable on some days.
Mm.
But that being said, I did have a word. I had a word with the head of sixth form at the time. She said on the days that you really can't make it, like you can skip first period, like we'll allow that for you. And yeah, that was actually like I think I underrated it at the time, but it felt like I like kind of just being seen, I guess, because it was really supportive. Like, and she didn't really have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's nice to hear because I think it's important. Like everyone's, journey is different, so it's nice to have a little bit of support when you needed it. So that's good. That was quite helpful for you, I guess, in your kind of journey, definitely. So then after that, you went on to work for Currys PC World alongside your uni. Yeah, and then what you said are some of the skills you developed during your time at Greg's and Currys that normally you can't get that in an educational setting. I feel like.
Yeah. So as far as with Curry's, like I had already been working for a long time, like with the Gregs, but Curry's was the warehouse role.
Okay.
Honestly, it was a lot of not doing much. Yeah, I found myself on my phone quite a lot in the back, like the stock rooms. But it was great because, like, I think when you're at uni, like especially when you go to like a city uni, obviously you make your friends and stuff, but you kind of forget that like people live in the area that you're studying. So it like I think getting a job kind of makes like helps you realize you you're a student in a city that existed before you were there. It helped me make friends who are more local to the area, and in turn, like I think it felt like I really lived in that city.
Mm, cool. Brilliant. So in terms of now you finishing university, let's say, did you start applying for jobs now, or what was the plan after finishing university?
Yeah, it was straight away on the job hunt, and yeah, I went back to working at Greg's and like job hunt, and yeah, and then helping my dad whenever I could. It wasn't working out, and after a while, um, yeah, I just kind of threw in the towel, and then
What What do you mean by it didn't quite work? What was it? What was the kind of setbacks, or what was the things that was going wrong for you?
so I was applying for like they'll have sustainability managers at companies and stuff, but you're competing with people who do geography or geology and stuff, like, and they have a lot more of a environment background, whereas mine were like optional modules. So I feel like I wasn't really taken seriously in that sense. Um, so yeah, I think I just got outmuscled by the competition and a lot of the roles that I really wanted to apply for.
So, like, what kind of roles can you apply for after finishing mechanical engineering?
Pretty much anything. It's one of those like Swiss Army degrees. People they like that it kind of proves that you can critically think, and like you're good with numbers and science obviously. So finance will take you, some IT places will take you. So it's kind of the world is your oyster situation.
Mm.
I know like we kept hearing the fact that like 80% of engineers go into finance after leaving engineering. So
Did you consider applying for finance, or because obviously a lot of degrees have or finishing degree, a lot of people go into various grad schemes and potentially taking the transferable skills over to a completely different career as well. So were you thinking about maybe going into a different industry like finance?
I had thought about it, but I don't know. I think that's just not like something I've ever been interested in. The money did tempt me, but like I don't think it's about money for me. I was looking for satisfaction through my career, but now, and I definitely think I wouldn't have got that with my finance. Like it's just from for my like my opinion is that it's like you're just continuously like climbing the ladder, and like for some people like it's just never enough. But yeah, like I think for me now my career is about like being able to facilitate the things I want to do outside of my job. So that's all I need from my career.
Brilliant. Okay. So let me just kind of take you a bit more onto what you're doing right now. So you're now working as a mortgage and protection advisor at the Openwork Partnership. Can you tell us how you got involved with that and explain like how did you get into that basically?
So my dad's been a chef for a very long time, and during COVID, he was obviously like his job was threatened. So during that time, he learned about the role, and he took the necessary like exams and stuff to become qualified. That I think he started like 2019, 2020, and he's been doing it for a while now. Like when I got back from uni, he was still pretty new to it, so I was just helping him with the admin stuff. And more than anything, it just felt like a really easy sort of job to be doing. Like it's mostly admin work and like figuring out what people need. So I had a conversation with my dad, and he really encouraged me to do it. For a year, I just took it at my own pace. Yeah, I got it done, and then now I'm part of a firm, and we take on clients, and we sort of assess that people's needs and then provide them with financial products that they might need.
Okay. So did you have to do any additional courses prior to this? Like I know you mentioned you're working through it at your own pace over the course of the year. So you had to do some other additional courses before you could be a person to give advice. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Um, so it's called CMAP.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got that degree, and then like with that degree, like it doesn't really help to do much. So you need to find like open work is who I work for basically. So I like the firm I'm with, they're partnered with open work, and so I have to like prove to open work that like I'm qualified as an advisor, not just that I know the like that I know everything that I need to know, because advising is like it's like there's a lot more to it than just knowing about financial products. So yeah, after passing my exam, I had to do like some role play exams. Someone was sat opposite me on a screen, pretending to be a client, and then I had to give them advice, and then you're sort of like assessed on that, and they give you feedback and stuff. And as long as you pass, like you move on to the next step, and then eventually you sign that contract, and you're a partner on the firm.
Got it. Got it. Cool. So can you explain to us what your role involves on a day-to-day basis then?
Day to day, as I'm like pretty new, like it's like finding clients a lot. Like at this stage, my dad has a pretty big client base, so I'm just helping with his cases. Sometimes like I'll get a few of those clients, and then the firm is giving me some clients too. And then like on the side, I'm sort of like helping other advisors with anything that they might be stuck on too. So like I'm answering calls from clients, from advisors. And then yeah, like there's a lot of meetings. Like banks want to talk to you, like insurance providers, they want to meet with you, they want to explain their products and stuff. So yeah,
So are you office based or do you work from home as well? Or is it
I work from home.
you work from home completely?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So would you when you say you meet people from like banks and other sort of organizations, do you do that online as well or do you go in person sometimes?
It's a mix of both. So
Mix of both.
there'll be seminars online and like in person. Yeah, at the start of the year there were a few. But yeah, now it's sort of slowed down, and I'm mostly at home.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, cool. So that takes me into the next question I wanted to kind of find out more about is what skills would you say you use the most in your job, and do you see any connection between those that you developed during your time at school and university and what you're currently doing?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely like skills that I learned at Greg's, and I did a bit of a stint at McDonald's as well.
Okay.
But it's essentially like you're listening to what they're saying. Like you're not necessarily trying to sell them something straight off the bat, because like you don't know this person at this point. So you're just having a conversation, and they're telling you like, oh, I have three kids, I have a house, like the mortgage isn't done. I want that paid off by this certain point. So like with all this information, it's starting to build up a picture of like where they might not be fully covered. And then like you're sort of advising them what they need. So they only take what they can and what they want. Like you never at any point saying, oh, you need this and you need that. Like I would advise you to take this. That's all you, that's as far as your job goes. And then once they say, yeah, I'll take that, then you just apply for them. Yeah.
So would you say like using your listening skills is very
Hmm.
important because you need to kind of know what they want, and then you being able to then communicate that to back to them using the information you have at hand.
Yeah.
So using your communication skills, presentation skills as well, because a lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize when you're at school or university, when you do those presentations in class, or when you have to, meet a deadline for a particular assignment, they're all very useful skills in the world of work, and they are absolutely paramount to success because you need to be on time in your workplace. Otherwise, they're going to start to, build a picture about you if you're constantly late. And then they're
Yeah.
going to be like, no, they're going to be quick to get rid of you and find somebody else because that's just how brutal the real world is. And a lot of people don't actually understand that. I think it's important for people listening that, developing those skills during school is so important because they're directly transferable to pretty much every single setting in the world of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And
So, go on.
oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think it's all good and well, like being knowledgeable about something, but I think one thing that you have to realize is that like you're the expert on this topic. The person that you're speaking to is definitely not. So like your job is to explain what you know in a way that they understand. So like when you're doing these presentations at school, like it feels like a waste of time, but it's really testing it's nurturing that skill that you've gone and studied something and now it's your job to explain it to someone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. Cool. So what would you say you enjoyed the most about your current role?
I like how flexible it is for sure. Yeah. It does mean that sometimes I'm taking phone calls on Saturdays and Sundays and I might be working a bit later, but if I'll have work set out in front of me and I can finish that as soon as I get it and then the rest of the day is free.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's quite nice to have that flexibility because you can kind of work around that in your schedules as well. Cool. What would you say some of the biggest challenges are for you in your role?
But definitely staying on top of the work. I think it's a double-edged sword, like being able to complete the work whenever you want to. You are in this role, like you're essentially working for yourself. So only you can hold yourself accountable. There's no one saying, oh, other than your client, there's no one else like telling you this deadline needs to be met, this and that. Like you need to keep up to date with these standards or whatever. If you fall behind, like then only you're to blame. So yeah, like not letting your work creep up on you is definitely the hardest thing.
Brilliant. Cool. So looking back, what would you say? What lessons you've learned from your mistakes, and what have they taught you over the course of your kind of journey so far?
I think like I think I definitely followed the crowd with going to uni, especially because people will tell you like uni is fun, you can party and stuff, blah blah blah. You know what? Just take the weekend off. If you go for a degree apprenticeship, you won't miss out. Like, just go on the weekend or like on a Friday night, go visit your friends. It's almost the same experience. I think the only the only thing that that I really liked about uni was like the experience of living by yourself. So obviously, if you don't move out for uni, then you don't get that. But yeah, I think moving out for uni was a really good thing for me because I love cooking and it just made me even better.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
So if you were to go back to your younger self, what advice would you give to yourself?
I have written some notes for this. So I would say I'll say trust your gut a bit more. Um, like uh like people will give advice and it's good to listen, but like Uh, you know yourself best. So if you know you're not going to enjoy it, you don't need to do it just because other people have told you to. Like you're the one that has to ultimately go and do like what you're signing up to do. You're the one that has to sit through those lectures and like get up on those early cold mornings to get to those lectures. So if you trust your gut and you do something that like you have a feeling that you're going to enjoy, then you're more invested in it and it won't feel like such a chore.
Mm,
And then I would also say, um, yeah, give yourself some time. Like you don't need to know what you want to do. I'd say like build yourself foundations to not fail. But like in terms of what direction you go in, like that can change and it probably will change. So not knowing is completely fine. And that's where like trusting your gut comes in. Yeah. Like if it were really up to me, I would have done something like film and media. But I think also like
it's
it's
not too
probably
late.
not responsible.
It's not too
Yeah.
late. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I could get into that as a hobby
Yeah.
and it'll be just as good.
Because
Yeah.
I think you don't realize sometimes you're still very young and you got a long way to go. So there's no harm in changing your choices and careers, because just your journey alone shows that careers don't have to be linear. You can, you know, switch between different pathways and, go back to something completely different to what you may have studied even. And that takes me on to one thing that I want to kind of, because I know a lot of people will be listening and you mentioned about some really practical steps already, but what would be some other practical steps would you recommend to students that want to, that might, need to prepare for themselves for the, after leaving school and education in general? What would be some practical steps you'd recommend?
I'd say if you have a part-time job, it's very draining to then come back from that job and apply for applications. If you feel like it's getting in the way of applying for jobs, just quit that job. You probably won't be applying for that long anyways. You can always go back to work afterwards. Hopefully you succeed in your applications and you land the job. So it sort of gives you that like it gives you that pressure. Maybe it might be too much, but I think it's good pressure. Wake up, apply for jobs. Yeah. And it feels less draining when doing it when you're not tired from work.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So in terms of, like we mentioned about, there are so many skill sets you develop during your time at school, and you mentioned about the fact that sometimes people don't take seriously why you do a presentation, and then it becomes really important later on in life. What would you say they should focus on in terms of skills currently whilst being at school? What should they be developing that's going to be really useful in the real world of work? Because yes, of course, there are many skills you do different, different subjects teach you different things, and you
Yeah.
develop them naturally. But there are some particular skills I feel like they're directly transferable to many, many places. So what would be some of those skill sets would you say they should be really developing that's going to help them in a long way after leaving education?
I think I think you should be developing like being able to think critically, obviously, but then like being able to express yourself creatively. I think it's pretty underrated. Um, yeah, like whether it's like creative writing or whatever at the time when you're in school, if it will help you like later down the line to like with like your communicative literacy, like because certain ways of communicating just aren't effective. So if you're able to like start working on that with some after school classes, like I don't know what it might be, like you might pick up drama or whatever. Yeah, I think these things feel like silly at the time, but me picking up art for GCS, it it sort of gave me like an ability to think outside the box a bit.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think to add to that as well, like what would you say to people that are currently not doing any sort of after school clubs, or like getting involved with like sports related things? And generally there's various clubs that take place during lunchtime and after schools, and even as adults now you can get involved with so many things outside of your workplaces. What would you say to people that aren't doing much?
I think in some cases like it's not possible to do like an after school club or there's nothing in school that really interests you. And I think for that like there's a lot of content on YouTube that is very helpful. As a kid, I spent countless hours on YouTube, but I was spending a lot of time watching like nature documentaries and like science videos and stuff. And that's like kind of the skill that we're talking about right now, where they like obviously they know what they're talking about, but they're trying to explain it to you. So you pick up on the vocabulary that they're using. And I've even been told that like I have the sort of cadence of these these YouTubers, and I get made fun of that for that. But yeah, they definitely they have that skill perfected. So if you spend your time watching, like, I don't know, like I do, like bug videos or like, yeah, then not only are you like learning interesting facts, like you're picking up that secondary skill.
Cool. So one last thing before we start closing up. In terms of, are there any particular, because YouTube is a great place, like you said, they can develop skills and learn about various, things from there as well. There are really good educational channels that are sharing really good, useful information. But are there any particular websites or places you researched about during your time at university, for example, that might people might be able to use to research about different careers? Or are there anything that you might want to share?
In terms of careers, I was just mostly on like LinkedIn or Indeed or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe starting a LinkedIn. I don't know how old you have to be to make one,
I think you
but
have to be 16. So when you're at
yeah,
A levels, you can start making one. And I think a lot of people starting to now do that, which is really important
yeah.
because social media is obviously great, like Instagram and all the rest of it. But LinkedIn is a little bit more professional, and it kind of looks at the professional side of things. So yeah, you can kind of reach out to people in different places of work and find out about what they're doing. Ultimately, even finding work experience through it as well, because I'm sure if you reach out to many people, they might be happy to host you for a few days or for whatever amount of time they can offer. So yeah, definitely, I think it's a good advice. LinkedIn is a good one to do if you're
Yeah.
in sixth form now currently or anyone older. Then you can obviously create one really easily. Cool. Any
Yeah.
other closing statements before?
Yeah, I think for me, I've had to like deal with obviously comparing myself to other people that I went to school with, especially in that year where I wasn't necessarily in a job. Yeah, I think if you should just give yourself the time to like not necessarily fall into like where you're meant to be, but like you don't need to beat yourself up if you're not where others are, because like you don't know. Like I think the way that I rationalize it was that like if I'm happy now, like that's all I need. Like they might be successful or whatever, but they might not necessarily be happy, and even then it's not anything that you can control. Like you're in control of the situation you're in
Mm.
to some degree, so like there's no point beating yourself up over it. Make the most of where you are.
Brilliant. That's really useful to know, because I think one of the things that actually kind of comes to mind right now after you said that is a lot of people are very irrational in their thinking. They just think everything's going to go to plan. They're going to become the next best doctor in the world, or they're going to become this solicitor or this engineer, and they don't realize life isn't always smooth like that. So now that you've kind of you've had various your journey so far has been so different in terms of you've been involved in lots of different part-time jobs. You've been involved in doing, working currently as a mortgage advisor, for example. So what does success mean to you now, from before to as in kind of grown up adult now? What does success mean to you?
So I think it always used to mean like either making a lot of money, having like a lot of status, like like being able to like say your job title and then like having
Mm,
people be impressed. Yeah, like that's I don't. Yeah, it doesn't seem that cool anymore. Yeah, like good for you, I guess, if you are someone who's very important. I think that's impressive, but like, I think for me now, like in terms of like what I do for work or where I am in my career, it doesn't necessarily matter to me. It's more like obviously I need to make money to do certain things, but like I think I'm more so concerned about what I'm doing outside of work now.
mm. Yeah, brilliant. I think you're spot on with that, because success doesn't always mean making the most amount of money. Yes, money is important, but having the right balance between work and life is really important. Being, able to spend time with family and friends is more important. And then it's not all about just working, 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 and not about that title. Like you said, a lot of people do it for the title. You're right. Like I've spoken to so many people, and they just think, oh, getting the doctor title is like the best thing that's going to happen to them, kind
Yeah.
of thing. It's not about that. Yes, it's important to have good careers. It's important to be somebody who's, you're going to be helping people in a big way, and the rest of it. That's really important. Don't get me. I'm not taking that away from them, but success doesn't always look like people how they think about it, earlier in their lives, and they
Hmm.
soon realize that it's much more than that, really.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, brilliant, Emotion. It's been genuinely great having you on this podcast, because I think
Thank you.
you sharing your journey and showing how adaptable skills and open doors they put in unexpected ways. So before we wrap up, where can people connect with you, or follow your professional journey, or if they have a question?
Well, I have an Instagram. It's ASAP MB. I made it when I was like year 8. I haven't changed it since. So ASAPMB. I'll accept follows, but like I will feel weird if you're like very young. Maybe
But
send a message first.
yeah, what about like LinkedIn?
And LinkedIn, yeah. So Motion Bashyal, and yeah, I'm definitely available to talk. And then yeah, I guess I have a blog, but that's like not really. It's
What's your
about the
vlog?
books I read, I
Oh, tell
guess.
us about your blog. Actually, what's it about? What's it about?
So I just started it like maybe a week ago. Uh,
Okay.
and I wrote a blog piece about a book that I read quite recently. I've known about it for some time. It's the Little Prince, and it's yeah. I think it's very. I think it might be very helpful for like children at school to be reading it, because it is about like there's a lot to do with where adults like go wrong and they're too concerned with like numbers and like being successful, being in power and stuff. And then it also helps like to deal with like love and grief. So yeah, I wrote a nice piece about nice, tooting my own horn,
I'm
but
sure. No, I'm sure it's nice. I'll tell you what. I'll share that in the description of the video. People that are interested in, first of all, connecting with you, they can find your details on there, and also your blog that you have, because I think it's nice that people can get, they can read it for themselves and find, see if it's useful, and why not? And so definitely, I'll put that in the description. So if you're interested, you can check it out and reach out to Emotion if you have any questions as well. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this episode of Pathways to Success. Thank you for listening. And if you found today's conversation helpful or inspiring, don't forget to subscribe and share it with somebody who might find this useful. And if you want to, find out more about other career journeys, do check out the other videos we've made with different career paths and people doing different things as well. And hopefully you can learn something from it. And that's the purpose of these episodes. Again, Motion, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your career journey. It's been really inspiring. I'm Ali, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.